What's going on, everybody? This is Brindle. Just decided I'd take a little stroll, take a little break from some work I'm doing here on a Saturday here at our offices at Brindle Insurance Group and Christian Brindle Insurance Services. For a lot of you know my story. You know, I've been blessed to kind of be able to kind of work with my dad, and early on I worked. I kind of worked for his company when I was kind of learning the business when I was so young. When I came into the business when I was like 20, around that age. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a licensed insurance agent, specialize in Medicare health plans. I host the Everything Medicare Podcast. I've published 3 books on the topic of insurance, 2 specifically about Medicare. And I have kind of made it my mission in life to bring the information to the forefront and really put everybody in a position that's on Medicare that, the information can be confusing. The information can have a lot of working parts, and the information has never really been accessible due to a Google click. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Primarily that the Medicare industry has always had so many rules for people that are actually on Medicare. It's kind of made people timid and a little bit afraid about what they can actually put out there on the internet about being fined, and that's part of it. But then the people that have the resources and the ability to really put the information out there too, as far as what you need to do, how you need to do it, what your options are, a lot of them have really put out partial information because they have a preference on what they'd like to enroll you into, and they'd like you to come to them to get it, and fear tactics, fear mongering, and things like that. And we just have tried to put an end to that. And I believe the more quality information we put out there for you, the people on Medicare, the better off everyone is going to be long term, and it's going to bring to the forefront and kind of pull the curtain back on the shysters that put out this horrible, awful information that is partial truths or just downright false information. It's a beautiful day today. It's been winter for so long, and in Utah, winter just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. If you live in a state similar to Utah, like Colorado or something like that, you probably can probably sympathize with. So it's just so beautiful. I just wanted to take a break and kind of go for a little bit of a walk outside of our office, just enjoy the fresh air, take some time to talk with you. On a side note, I wanted to let you know that, in my opinion, I think there's a lot to be excited about going forward in the future of Medicare, particularly Medicare Advantage plans. I mean, Medicare Advantage plans have been demonized by so many people in the industry, and I think that, do I think that they're right for everybody? Absolutely not. Of course not. I think there's tons of people out there that need to be on a Medicare supplement plan instead of a Medicare Advantage plan, also known as Part C. You always see them advertised on TV as Part C because they're afraid to use the term Medicare Advantage because it's so demonized. But I really do believe that the future is so bright and so enthusiastic about Medicare Advantage. And I'll tell you why I believe that. The government, and I did a podcast episode about this relatively recently, but the government is basically determined that they have a preference that they would rather everybody be on Medicare Advantage, or as many people as possible. The reason for this is they determine it's going to be easier for them and, in the long run, cheaper for them if the Medicare is ran through an insurance company instead of them paying 80% of someone's medical bills. The insurance companies want to do it because they make an average of about, I read an article recently that said they made an average of about $11,000 a year in funding per person on a Medicare Advantage enrollment in 2020. And that's a huge number. I mean, that's a gigantic number. So the insurance companies make cash hand over fist in that regard. But it makes it easier on the government too, I think they've determined. And so both parties there have kind of made a push to kind of push people into Medicare Advantage. You see more and more advertisements for it, more than ever before. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing either, because we're seeing more and more funding being put into Medicare Advantage, more than ever before. When I first came into this business, when I first started doing, working in the insurance industry so many, it seems like so many years ago, I pretty much worked my entire adult life as an insurance agent. I'm 27 years old today, but I started preparing to get my insurance license when I was 19, and a lot of you have kind of seen me grow up a little bit before your eyes, because we started doing the podcast when I was 25, and I really started to kind of put myself out there in the spotlight around that time period. But when I first came into the business, at least in the areas that we were working with people in, this might not have been the case everywhere, but I saw that for the most part, most Medicare Advantage plans had limited dental, vision, hearing coverage, like hardly any, really. There were a total of about 5 or 6 insurance companies in my home market here in Utah that did Medicare Advantage plans. And at that time, when I started, it started in about 2000, I don't even remember off the top of my head, but it was about 7-8 years ago. There were probably no plans that gave any dental. There was one plan that came into the market, or they added some coverage into their plan for preventative dental. Cleanings, x-rays, exams twice a year, and it was like revolutionary, and everyone was freaking out about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Because at that point, no Medicare plans, especially, of course, Medicare supplements, because they can't. Because they won't pay for something unless Medicare pays for it first, and Medicare doesn't cover dental and probably never will. But the Medicare Advantage plans are a different animal because they're basically running the Medicare through the insurance company. And so we saw that these, this plan came out with preventative dental, and it was such a big deal, and everyone was freaking out. But the glasses coverage was minimal, if any, it was pitiful. Very limited types of lenses they'd pay for, if anything. And hearing aid coverage was pitiful, but there was a little bit of that existed, but it was very, very minimal. Fast forward to today, in a lot of places, you'll see there's Medicare Advantage plans that, a good number of them give you full comprehensive dental built into the plan. At the very least, they'll do preventative dental. They pretty much all do preventative dental at least now, cleanings, x-rays, exams, to where, back up to when I came into the business, preventative dental was like, the greatest thing because nobody did that. And it was so, unique, and it was so out there. Now, the plans are at least going to have preventative dental. So we're seeing the benefits expand on Medicare Advantage more and more because there's more funding being put into it, because the government's kind of realized, hey, this might be a good thing for us, and this might be a good thing for the insurance companies. And that's kind of the way they're pushing things. Yes, it's true, they're pushing everybody in that direction, but if the plans continue to get better and they continue to add more benefits, is it really such a bad thing? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. I don't know if we necessarily know the answer to that yet, but, now it's common for plans to have, depending on where you live, anywhere between $200 to $500 a year of glasses coverage. It's not too bad. That'd pay for my glasses. Hearing aid benefits are through the roof. We're seeing more and more plans do transportation. A majority of plans now, a lot of plans, do over-the-counter item benefits, which is pay for things like aspirin, ibuprofen, fish oil, Band-Aids, that kind of stuff. Pre-authorizations they're getting easier and easier to deal with. They used to be a real problem, and they still can be, but they're not as bad as they used to be. They're just continuing to innovate these kind of programs and these plans, and we're seeing the benefits expand. I heard a whisper through the grapevine in the industry, and I'm very, very connected, very plugged in to the Medicare industry. I know a lot of people in a lot of high places with a lot of insurance companies, and I know other people that are agency owners and things like that I talk to on a regular basis. And I've heard from some people that they believe that it won't be long until, Medicare Advantage plans introduce some form of, long-term care coverage, which, if you don't know, long-term care is like in a nursing home, assisted living facility, that kind of stuff, which those are enormously expensive. They can be anywhere between like $5,000 a month and $10,000 a month, depending on the facility. And Medicare really doesn't offer any coverage there. I mean, Medicare will cover it under skilled nursing and for the first 100 days. But other than that, you really have no options. So the only kind of coverage people could get for long-term care is long-term care insurance, which is expensive in a lot of cases, or short-term care insurance, which is cheaper, but it only pays for up to a year in a facility. They're good options, viable options, but if Advantage plans start covering those things, and that's kind of the next way to go, I mean, that could be potentially a game changer. We'll have to see what happens. But, as the programs grow and as Medicare Advantage enrollment grows, we'll probably see the benefits grow and expand and be able to give you things that they never could give you before. Is that such a bad thing? I'm not so convinced that it is. It's not perfect. It's not for everybody. And I'll be the first to tell you that, and I acknowledge it. I think there's a lot of people out there, and probably a lot of people that will end up watching this video, that need to be on Medicare supplement plans. Both sides of the coin. And if you've been on Medicare for any extended amount of time, you know that Medicare, when someone gets on Medicare, they have a choice to make. Do you want to go the Medicare supplement route with a Part D drug plan? Or do you want to go the Medicare Advantage route? Everything you've ever heard about Medicare falls into one of those two categories. So, take all the BS out of it, as far as all these different working parts. Yes, there's a lot of different working parts, but they all fall into those two categories. So if you could determine which way, those two ways you'd prefer to go, you've taken 70 to 80%, I'd say, of the difficulty of making a decision out of the equation. It's that simple. If people could just wrap their heads around that, there would not be so much Medicare confusion, and we wouldn't see so many people not knowing what kind of coverage they have, or they're not even understanding what they have or what they pay for every month, what limitations it has, get stuck with bills that they never expected. I mean, there wouldn't be so much surprises and confusion if people just got that through their heads a little bit, that it's Medicare supplement and Part D drug plan or Medicare Advantage, and kind of here's how they work, and here's the good and bad to both sides. And then, when I do a presentation for someone, especially when someone's aging in and turns 65, I try to go through both sides, Medicare Advantage on one side and Medicare supplements on the other side, and go over the good and the bad and the ugly and everything in between. And you wouldn't believe how many people, by the end of it, they're just like, wow, you just simplified this so much for me. This side seems so much better for me than the other side, and this is why. They're able to kind of make their own decision on what sounds better for them, and then we can kind of take the next step, and it just makes the process easy, and they feel comfortable, and they feel confident, and they know the risks of any particular decision they might make. That's the way it ought to be done. I mean, if your agent or your broker's not kind of taking that approach with you, you might want to ask yourselves why, in my personal opinion. My company combined, with my dad's company, our organization as a whole, I'd say, the Brindle umbrella, we have thousands of clients in our organization, and we've worked with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of clients over the years, we've seen a lot of things, and we've seen it all, and we know what we're doing, and you need to work with someone too that knows what they're doing. Just wanted to kind of give you my thoughts on how I believe we could see Medicare Advantage plans just continue to get better, continue to expand. That's kind of the purpose of this video, is kind of a thought I had. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Insurance agents don't like to sell Medicare Advantage plans, or some of them don't anyway, because it's more work for them, because they're ever changing. There's a lot to keep up with. They have to go take tests and certifications each and every year. They don't have to do any of that for Medicare supplements. They never change. They don't have to take tests. So selfishly, they'll try to point you in that direction every single time for their own benefit, but they're not thinking about what's best for you, and Medicare Advantage plan might be what's best for you. Point blank. Anyway, folks, hope you found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Done some of these videos last year before it started to get cold here, and just, taking a stroll, having a little chat. As always, folks, take some time and drop a comment down on your thoughts. If you think I'm totally off on this, do you think I'm wrong? Tell me why. I'm open to a dialogue. I mean, I'm never have a problem with having a conversation, and I know I'm not right about everything, and I have no reason to think that other than what I've seen as far as trends are concerned. Subscribe to our channel. We bring Medicare content consistently, some great Medicare content. We bring the podcast on video 3 times a week, but of course, if you'd rather listen to it on audio, it's on every audio platform the podcast can be listened to. The audience is about 600 people a week at this point, which I'm very proud of that. We just eclipsed over 30,000 downloads on the audio version alone. That doesn't include YouTube videos. I just really love connecting with everybody. Thanks for taking some time with me. Hope you have a great day.